I'm going to guess it was at least 35 years ago, maybe longer than that, when I made a decision. I just cannot watch boxing anymore. Actually, today, boxing has kind of morphed into cage fighting, where it's just very barbaric. But back in that day, 35 plus years ago, it was considered to be a real primo Olympic sport, and then it would be shown on prime time on the sports channels, etc. But as I would watch it, and as I began to mature in my own personal adult life, I would watch that and I'd think, what's the point here? You can call it sport and you can say these people are really skilled in exercising and all of that, but the bottom line is you have one human being attempting to humiliate and pummel another human being, and then they're each doing it right back and forth to each other. And the name of the game is to establish submission, to establish dominance over another person, to create pain. That's a pretty pathetic way to do sports, if you ask me. Now, a favorite topic that many boxers would have is they would try to get their opponent off into a corner, and when they have him in that corner, then they're very vulnerable and they can just pummel away, and finally that other person, they hope, is going to say, okay, I quit, I give up, you win. Now, narcissists like to box psychologically. One of the things they want to do is they want to establish dominance. They want to keep you into a submissive position. They're enamored with their own ideas, their own preferences, their own intellect, so to speak. And so in doing so, they'll use tactics, and one of their favorite tactics is to back you into a corner with all sorts of questions that are not meant for gathering information. Their cornering questions, just like the boxer, are meant to make you finally give up and acknowledge they win, you lose. I mean, as an example, it may be that narcissistic person may try to make a point, but they do it in a way where they say something like, do you realize how much money you've been wasting lately? That's a cornering question. Or why do you think you have to talk to the kids in such a rude way? Or do you know how you come across to other people when we're out in public? That they can ask those kind of questions, but certainly they're not asking the questions for the point of just saying, I'd like to get to know you better. Please help enlighten me. They're trying to dominate you. Or there are many other kinds of cornering questions that they might ask. Just simple things like, who do you think you are anyway? Or don't you remember all of the good things I've done for you? Or do you really think I'm impressed by the things you believe? Or what makes you think anyone wants to hear anything from you? Or how would you like it if your friends could see you right now? Or, so do you just think I'm stupid? Have you ever heard any of those kind of questions? Actually, you could probably list out, and if you want to in the comments section, go right ahead, list out many more of these kind of cornering questions that a narcissist might want to ask. What's going on? See, let's pause for just a moment and recognize when an adult narcissist chooses repetitively to ask these kinds of cornering questions of you, they're reflecting a style of thinking that they learned when they were growing up. Somehow or another, they were on the receiving end probably of very negative kinds of comments and a dominant kind of a relationship. Or if they weren't on the receiving end of it directly, they saw how other people would be that way. And so that narcissistic person decided, I've got to find a way to gain and maintain the upper hand in the way that I engage with people, because I don't ever want to be on the bottom end of a relationship. That's how they learn to think. And so this cornering question tactic that they use with you is a reflection of some of the pessimism that they've grown up with, and the pessimism then comes out in this very unhelpful and very, frankly, pitiable way of communicating with you. So understand there's a psychic strain and tension that this person has not been able to come to terms with. Just like a boxer, the narcissist is thinking, I have to hit you before you hit me. They just assume a certain pessimism and negativity. So I'm going to ask you a question, and it's not a cornering question. When you're on the receiving end of these kinds of questions that are meant to intimidate and humiliate you, what kind of options do you have in that kind of moment? Well, actually, I have 6 options I want to walk you through, and I want you to be thinking about which ones of these would make sense to you. 3 of them don't make good sense. 3 of them do. Option number 1, when you're asked a cornering question over and over in particular, you can collapse emotionally. There are times when that narcissistic person can come on so strong and so overwhelming that you just feel so defeated. And so you give in to your anxiety, you give in to your sense of weakness and insecurity. And it's like, okay, I just can't say anything. I just gotta, this is my lot in life. And you just allow yourself to be on the low end of that equation. Option number 2, and this kind of goes along with option number 1, you can just become an appeaser. Say whatever that person wants to hear in the moment just to get them off your back. Okay, I'm so sorry, that kind of thing. Option number 3 is you can join in the game and try to pummel them right back. And I hear from some of you on some of the comments when you say, hey, what you need to do is just punch them in the mouth. What happens when you do that is you're playing the game. The narcissist is setting your pace. You may think you're going to win, but all you're doing is you're perpetuating misery. But it's an option. Those are 3 lousy options. How about option number 4? And this could be a little bit more in a positive direction. First, you can sidestep the invitation to verbally spar. Now, you'll be ridiculed for that, but in your mind, it's like when you come at me with these cornering questions, I feel no need to engage with you on this. And so internally, you give yourself permission to say, emotionally, I'm unhooking. A 5th option, which goes along with this, is perhaps you can explain yourself once. If the person is asking a question and you know it's a loaded question, you may want to say, here's my rationale, here's who I am, this is what I believe. Say it once and then move on and be on your way. And then you calmly hold your ground. Now, there's not a real high probability that the narcissist is going to say, hey, thanks for enlightening me. They've got their boxing gloves on. They don't want to be enlightened by then. All they want to do is just keep wailing away at you. But sometimes you may want to just speak your piece and stand your ground. And then option number 6 is sometimes you just need to remove yourself physically. If you're in the presence of someone who feels the need to keep pushing you back into a corner with these kind of cornering questions and insults and dominating kinds of comments, at some point you have to ask, why would I need to stay here and allow myself to be subjected to this? So let's keep in mind, when the narcissist comes at you with cornering questions, they're not really asking questions per se. They simply want to make you feel foolish. But when you realize actually the foolishness is coming from the inside of that person who chooses to do life in this very non-productive kind of way, and I'm hoping you can see it for what it is, and basically you win by not trying to win. You beat them at their game by not trying to beat them at their game. There's an old proverb that says, don't exchange evil for evil or insult for insult. If somebody in your presence feels the need to be really insulting, I just don't feel the need to do that in reverse. In fact, I feel a certain pity and sadness on that person's behalf. So, questions can have their place in relationships. Sometimes we can ask questions so that we can clarify our thoughts and needs and intentions and interpretations to one another. But let's agree that when we ask each other questions, we want to do so in the context of decency. Remember one of my phrases I like to use, Dr. C, DRC, stands for dignity, respect, civility. And we can ask each other questions with those kinds of ingredients leading the way. So let's conclude with this thought. When the narcissist puts on their boxing gloves and they try to push you into that corner, your internal reaction can be, no thanks, I'm leaving the arena. I'm hoping you can think like that. And I do hope that you gain benefit by videos such as this. If you'll look beneath the video, you'll see that subscribe button. I would encourage you to hit that button if you've not done so already, so we can keep you apprised of more videos as they come along. In addition, we have a link for an email list that we have that will keep you up to date with other special videos and articles and initiatives that we're going to be having. In addition to that, I have my books and online workshops. And then if you're in need of online counseling, we have a link that will take you to a good place where folks can take care of you there. And I'm hoping that that's something you need to avail yourself to, please do so. Know that I really like being on your journey with you. I know that many of you are really trying to figure out this whole business of trying to deal with that very difficult person. And I'm hoping you're feeling empowered to say, you know, it's time for me to take myself back. And I'm hoping that we as a surviving narcissism community can spur and stimulate exactly that kind of thinking. So that being said, I'll see you next time.